Yo, what's going on, guys? In this video, we're going to be looking at the showdown slate for Thursday Night Football for Week 2. In the Week 2 Thursday night game, we got a game between the Buccaneers and the Panthers. We're going to talk through this showdown slate on DraftKings, talk about some of the plays at the top, and work our way through the player pool, hit on all the guys that I think are playable, the guys that I think should be in your player pool when you're building lineups. And as we get towards the end of the video, I will build out a couple lineups, just talking through lineup construction, how we want to build out a lineup for this showdown slate. Before we do get started, guys, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video. If you are new to the channel, if this is your first time checking out a video on my channel, thank you so much for clicking on the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. I will be uploading these showdown videos all year for every Thursday night game. I'll have ones out for the Sunday night games and the Monday night games as well. So make sure you are subscribed with notifications on, so that way you don't miss out on any of my new videos. If you have any questions, any comments, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. If you want to give some of your thoughts on this showdown slate, feel free to do so down in the comment section. But let's start off at the top with Christian McCaffrey. He is our most expensive option. He's $12,400. If you want to play McCaffrey in your flex, and if you want to play McCaffrey as a captain, he is $18,600. So he is by far the top projected player on this showdown slate. He's by far the highest upside play as well. I think you want to try as hard as you can to get Christian McCaffrey into your lineups. It's very tough to play him in your captain, because I was building out a couple lineups before I started recording, and it's really tough to get McCaffrey as a captain and then feel good about the rest of your lineup, because when you're spending $18,600 in the captain spot, that just really thins you out with the rest of your lineup. So we will talk through a McCaffrey build and captain, but whether you're playing him in captain or flex, I think you want to try and get him in there as much as possible. He's just one of the best fantasy running back. I would say he is the best fantasy running back right now. One of the best fantasy producers overall. First game of the season against the Rams, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns on 19 carries, got 81 yards on 10 catches. He's just going to do it all. He's a bell cow. 45 DraftKings points in his first game of the year. Obviously, we can't project him for 45 DraftKings points, but I feel like he's got a pretty safe 20-25 point floor in this matchup, especially given DraftKings full PPR scoring. So love McCaffrey here, top play on the slate, and it's not even close. Then you have Cam Newton and Jameis Winston as your two quarterbacks. I think I prefer Cam Newton just given the matchup. Much better matchup for him facing the Bucs and their really bad secondary and their really bad defense. Where on the other hand, Winston has to face a pretty good Carolina defense. Place is going to be on the road, and Winston just looked terrible in that Week 1 game against the 49ers. I know because I played quite a bit of him. He was one of my top projected quarterbacks, and he just really struggled. Completed 20 of 36 passes, only 194 yards, only threw 1 touchdown, threw 3 picks, just 10 DraftKings points from Winston in that first game. I expect a better performance here, but I can't project him higher than Cam Newton, and Cam Newton for 600 more. If I'm going to one of the quarterbacks, I would probably go with Cam, but usually in your captain spot, you want to try and get a running back or a receiver, because those are usually your highest upside plays. So guys like McCaffrey, Mike Evans, Godwin, Moore, Samuel, these are going to be the guys you probably want to consider for captain. But then you do have the Bucs receivers, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. I think both guys are pretty good plays. Godwin had the better game than Evans. Godwin got 6 targets in that game against the 49ers, had 3 receptions, 53 yards. Did get into the end zone, had 14 DraftKings points. There was news about Evans having an illness, and that kind of showed. I don't think he played a ton of snaps. I can't remember what his snap count was, but I know it was a bit low for Mike Evans. He only got 5 targets, just 2 catches for 28 yards. Very disappointing line for Mike Evans. I expect he bounces back here. We're going to see the targets go up. Mike Evans is going to be someone that gets a high amount of targets in this Tampa Bay Bucs offense. Him and Godwin are by far going to lead that Tampa Bay receiving core in targets. So both of those guys are good plays, but I feel like if you're playing McCaffrey, you're going to need all the savings you can get. So saving some salary and going down to the Carolina receivers, I think makes a lot of sense. You have DJ Moore at $8K, and you have Curtis Samuel at $7K. I would say just given the salaries, Curtis Samuel is probably my favorite play here. He's only $7K, which is really a pretty good price for Samuel. He's probably, I would say, the number 2 receiver, slightly behind DJ Moore. DJ Moore and Samuel are by far going to be the 2 Carolina receivers that get the most targets. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey will get targets as well. But Samuel saw 4 targets in that game against the Rams, had 3 catches, 32 yards. Wasn't a great game. I expect a much better game here. It's a better matchup against a really bad Buccaneers secondary. So I like Curtis Samuel a lot. Him and DJ Moore are definitely good plays in that mid-range. And when you're building a Christian McCaffrey lineup, you're probably going to have to go to those guys over Evans, Godwin, because you're going to need as much savings as you can get. But then you got the tight ends, O.J. Howard, Greg Olsen. I think I'd prefer Greg Olsen just because I like his matchup more. Right now, the Panthers are 6.5-point favorites. They do have a 28.5. They do have a 28.25 implied total. Bucks 21.75 implied total. Right now, this game has a 50 implied total. So I would expect the Panthers are probably going to win this game. They're 6.5-point favorites, like I said. It's more likely that we see the Panthers have success offensively than the Bucks here. So Greg Olsen is 6,200. I think I'd slightly prefer over O.J. Howard. But I definitely prefer Curtis Samuel over both of those guys. Samuel's only a bit more. We do have to watch the status of Greg Olsen. I am recording this on Tuesday at around 11 o'clock Eastern Time. We don't know the status of Greg Olsen. He is questionable. If he were to sit, then that would definitely open up a potential value play in Ian Thomas, who's really cheap at 3,800. If Olsen sits, that's also going to mean guys like Samuel and DJ Moore should see a few more targets as well. I expect Olsen plays, so I'm not really concerned about that, but if he were to sit, I did want to go over that just quickly for you guys. But then you have the running backs for Tampa Bay, and I think this is going to be a big key to winning this showdown slate. One of these guys is probably going to put up a decent game. In the game against the 49ers, Ronald Jones, he got 13 carries and 1 target. He was pretty efficient rushing, 75 yards on those 13 carries, got 1 catch for 18 yards. Peyton Barber, on the other hand, got a little bit less work than that. He got 8 carries for 33 yards, and he saw 4 targets for 12 yards, so he wasn't as involved in the rushing game, but he was more involved in the passing game. It seems like Ronald Jones is going to be the guy over Peyton Barber this year. It was kind of reversed last year. Peyton Barber was the starter, and then Jones kind of got some backup work. I know there was a lot of times, though, last year where Ronald Jones was a healthy scratch. But in that game one, he did get the most volume. He did get the most work out of the Tampa Bay running backs. I usually never target the Tampa Bay running backs, especially on a full slate. But on a single game showdown slate, I think you probably want to look to one of these guys. They are very cheap as well. If you get lucky and Tampa Bay gets near the goal line and you get a rushing touchdown from one of these guys, they're probably going to wind up being value plays that you're going to need to go to. And I think just given how the volume went in the last game, I think I'd slightly prefer Ronald Jones, but there's a chance Tampa Bay is going to be playing from behind in this game, and it seems like Peyton Barber is going to be the pass down back. He's going to get more work in the passing game, so he could be someone you look to. But I think I'd still prefer Ronald Jones at 5K. I feel like these Tampa Bay running backs are probably going to be the value plays you kind of need on this slate because there's not much value. Like, you don't really want to go to the number 3 receivers from either team. Like, Bashard Perryman didn't get any targets. I think he got like 3 targets or 4 targets in that game against San Francisco. Jarius Wright only saw 1 target. These guys just are not going to get a lot of volume below 5K. Perriman's not. Wright's not. I know Cameron Brate got a couple looks. He did see 2 targets in that game. I thought he got 2 catches like called back or something. I believe he did see like 2 touchdowns, or he caught 2 touchdowns and they both got called back for penalty or something, but I don't really want to go to Brate. I don't expect him to see much volume. He's going to be behind O.J. Howard. Howard's going to play a lot more snaps. So that's just like a really fringe like GPP play. If you're going to go below 5K for value, I think you probably look to the Panthers defense at home against Jameis Winston, who we saw in that Week 1 game still will turn the ball over a lot. He'll take some sacks. The Panthers have a pretty good defense. They're playing at home at 4,200. They're probably the best value under 5K that you could go to. Like I said, if Greg Olsen were to sit, then I would open up Ian Thomas, but that's going to be something we have to wait and see on. And then you have like the kickers, Joey Slye, Matt Gay. If I have to choose a kicker, I'd probably prefer Joey Slye just because Carolina's projected for more points. But usually I try not to play a kicker, but this might be a slate where we kind of have to if we want to pay up for Christian McCaffrey. And then there's really nobody that's playable below 3K. Just none of these guys get enough volume. They don't see enough snaps to where I think they should be in your rosters. So let's go ahead and build out a couple lineups. I did want to start off with a Christian McCaffrey at captain lineup because I think it's going to be interesting to talk through this, see where we can go. Once you plug McCaffrey in as your captain, you're left with 6,280 remaining per player. So you're going to need some value plays. There's already a couple value plays I mentioned that I think I like. Ronald Jones at 5K. Whichever running back you want to go to from Tampa Bay, I think is going to be a value. I do prefer Ronald Jones, though, slightly for 5K. That gets you back up to 6,600 remaining per player. I would say it's pretty tough to fit in like a quarterback here or even one of these expensive guys. Like if you want to go to Cam Newton at 11K, that's going to really thin you out. You're only left with 5,133 remaining per player. But you could definitely make it work. There are playable options down here. Like you have the Panthers D, you have the kickers you could go to. You're probably going to have to play both of those if you want to get Cam Newton in there with McCaffrey. So if you plug in the Panthers D, you plug in the kicker, that gets you up to 7,800 remaining per player. So then you have enough for you have enough for Curtis Samuel. If you were to take out Sly and put in Matt Gay, then that would get you enough for DJ Moore. So you could do this right here, or you could take out Sly, go down to Matt Gay at 3,200, then that leave you enough to get to DJ Moore at 8K. But I think I'd honestly prefer it the other way. I'd rather go to Curtis Samuel, go to the Panthers kicker, and then leave some salary on the table. Or if Greg Olsen were to sit, then Ian Thomas would be a good play there at 3,800. But I'd probably do that, leave some salary on the table, get a low contrarian. So that's probably the way you have to go if you want to get McCaffrey as your captain. If you want to play him as your captain, you're going to have to play probably either a kicker or a defense, if not both. If you don't want to play a kicker or defense, you probably don't have to if you take Cam Newton out of there. Because if you take Newton out, that's going to open you up some salary. So you could probably get a guy like Curtis Samuel in there. You could probably go to one of the tight ends if you wanted to. You still have the defense and the kicker available if you wanted to go that route. I would say you're probably going to have to play one of the defense or kicker because I don't think you really want to go to Perriman or Wright. Like they just don't see enough volume to where I think they're playable. Like Perriman saw 5 targets, so I guess that makes him in play because if he's going to be on the field, that makes him a viable option. So I guess he'd be a fine play at 4,600. That opened you up some salary to get up to either like a DJ Moore or a Chris Godwin. If you plug in DJ Moore in there, that leave you enough for either Howard or Olsen. If you took out DJ Moore and put in Chris Godwin, that would leave you just enough for Greg Olsen. So that's another build that you could do. You don't have any exposure to the quarterbacks, which is a bit scary, but you do have Christian McCaffrey in your captain spot, who's by far the highest upside player on this slate. So that's kind of what it looks like if you want to build out a McCaffrey captain spot lineup or play McCaffrey as your captain. I think it makes sense to play a guy like Curtis Samuel at your captain with how cheap he is. If you put him in there at 10,500, you definitely want to pair him with your quarterback since you're putting Samuel in there as a captain. If you think Samuel's going to have a big game, that probably means Cam Newton's going to have a pretty good game as well. So I'd probably want to pair him with Cam Newton. I'd feel really bad not having McCaffrey in there, so let's try and get McCaffrey in there as well. That still leaves us 5,336 remaining per player. So we could go to some of the value plays I talked about. Ronald Jones at 5K, potentially the Panthers D. If you put the Panthers D in there, that'd leave you enough to play one of the tight ends. If you went down to one of the kickers, whether it's Sly or Gay, that'd leave you enough. All right, you'd be just short of DJ Moore, which would be a build I'd really like. So if you put Gay in there at 3,200, you'd be $100 short of DJ Moore, which sucks. But you could do this build right here, put in the tight end O.J. Howard, and then put in the Panthers D. You could play Jarius Wright, I guess, since you have enough salary for him. But like I said, I just don't know how many snaps he's going to see, how many targets he's going to see. Week 1, he only got 1 target, 1 catch for 14 yards. Hard to project him for a ton of points. I think the Panthers D probably projects better than him, to be honest. So that's another build you can do, and if I was playing cash games, I'd probably go with that build just because it gives you the salary to fit in the high upside, high floor plays like Cam Newton, like Christian McCaffrey, and you still have a high upside play in Curtis Samuel as well as your captain. So that's another build you can do. I do like doing that as well. But that's kind of how I'm going to be approaching this slate. I'm definitely going to be trying to fit in Christian McCaffrey as much as possible, whether he's in a captain spot or he's in a flex spot. I think for captain, I'm probably looking at McCaffrey, Newton, and Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel definitely makes sense if you're trying to save some salary and then fit in a couple of more studs in your flex spots. But for value plays, looking for cheap guys, I think going to the Tampa Bay running backs makes a lot of sense just because of how cheap they are. I do prefer Ronald Jones between the two. I think the Panthers D makes sense as a viable, cheap option at 4,200. And then you can go to either one of the kickers, Joey Sly or Matt Gay, 3,200, both potential value plays. But that's kind of it for this shot on slate, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. I do really appreciate it. Make sure you drop a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you cut on notifications as well so that way you'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave any questions, any comments down below in the comment section. Let me know some of your thoughts on this showdown slate, how you're going to be approaching it. Feel free to do so down in the comment section below. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and good luck tonight on this showdown slate.